What's up guys, welcome back to another rage quitting video. We are going to do a guide for Thief in Guild Wars 2 and we're going to do the Sword Dagger Daredevil Thief build. Okay, so let's just go right into the build here first. So in Trickery, we are going to use Trickery because it gives you a lot more initiative. For the talents here, we're going to take Thrill of the Crime. So when you steal, you and all nearby allies gain Fury, Might, and Swiftness for 10 seconds. So you get all these buffs or boons whenever you use your steal. And then next one up here, Bountiful Theft. Stealing grants you and all nearby allies Vigor. You rip boons from your target and grant them to nearby allies. So you can steal boons from the target whenever you use steal as well. And then also we're going to take Sleight of Hand. So steal will daze the target. So you get like a little bit of a daze here. You get a recharge reduced on your steal, so it's on a lower cooldown. Right now, my steal, or my swipe rather, is a 17-second cooldown. And you can see from the traits here, we're getting a lot of things done here with steal alone. So that goes into the next traits that we're going to use, and which is Deadly Arts. Mug, deal damage and gain life when stealing. This attack cannot critically hit enemies, but this is a good little sustain healing for yourself, and you just have steal actually doing a little bit of damage as well. That's going to be nice for us. Then we're going to take Panic Strike. Immobilizing a foe poisons them. Striking a foe below the health threshold immobilizes them. So this is really good for Sword Dagger because your Sword 2 skill is a immobilize. So now whenever you land the Sword 2 on your enemies, they will be immobilized and they will get this poison condition on them, which reduces their healing effectiveness. Okay, so used very often, so this is a very good trait to take here. It has an internal cooldown of 30 seconds though, so just be aware of that. And then lastly, we like to take Improvisation. You can use stolen skills twice, and then also recharge one random equipped utility skill whenever you steal. So this is really good for your survivability. Let me just do a little demonstration here. So all my utility skills right here, I'm going to use them. I'm going to use them all right here. Okay. And then now when I go ahead and steal onto this guy, boom, I just got my recharge reset on Shadow Step. That's a really strong trait right here to take for increased survivability, and you can use your utility skills more often. All right, and then down here in the Daredevil tree, and we're going to talk about the reason why we're using Daredevil over Acrobatics, because back in the day, the core Sword Dagger build is with Acrobatics, and Acrobatics has its own little perks that you get while using a sword. So it has like a, let me just go ahead and show it to you real quick. So Acrobatics, this trait right here, Swindler's Equilibrium, successfully evading an attack while wielding a sword or spear recharges steal on a 10-second internal cooldown. So this is really strong. All of your utility skills, or well, these two plus Dagger Storm have evade frames on it. Your Sword 3 has an evade frame on it, and you know, your regular dodges evade as well. So if your steal is on cooldown and you successfully dodge an attack, well, then you reset the cooldown of your steal, which makes it very strong. Unfortunately though, in structured PvP, the maps are big, and being able to rotate quickly between different points is pretty important. So I think that's why most players are using Daredevil over Acrobatics, even with Sword Dagger, is because the dash dodges are pretty valuable. They cover more distance, and also you get 3 charges of them when you play Daredevil instead of just 2. So for example here, the Acrobatics dodge roll is only like this, although you do get some swiftness when you do your dodge roll, which increases your movement speed. But just the fact that the Daredevil dodge is much stronger, makes it so that you can rotate faster in between nodes and stuff like that. So we are going to use the Daredevil one. For duels though, like I do really like to use the Acrobatics one, just because your steal has a longer range on it if you're not playing Daredevil. And then also the fact that you can reset the steal is really strong in 1v1 scenarios, but we're going to play for the overall structured matches. So if you don't have the expansion and you can't play the elite specializations, then go ahead and just pick up Acrobatics and use Acrobatics instead. But in this case, we're going to talk about Daredevil. So up here, I like to take Marauder's Resilience. Gain vitality based on a portion of your power. We'll talk about this later, the reason why we're using certain amulets and runes, okay? And then also Havoc Specialist. Strike damage dealt increases based on the endurance that is missing. So the more dodge rolls you use, the less endurance you have, the more damage you will do. 5% per missing bar, okay? And then we're going to take the dash dodge. Like I said earlier, the dash dodge covers a lot more ground, and since you have 3 of them, you know, you can quickly use this to rotate in between different points on the map much faster than you would be able to if you were using Acrobatics, for example. So this is the utilities that we were taking here, or the traits rather. Let's look into the build here. The Marauder Amulet used to be the thing with Thief, at least for me, because it gives you a little bit more HP and stuff like that. But Sword Dagger in itself doesn't really do the most damage, so you kind of need to run Berserker. But the problem with Berserker is that it doesn't have any vitality on it. Dude, this guy's making so much noise with his animations. Like, I'm gonna go somewhere else where it's nice and quiet. Okay. Alright, so the Berserker Amulet has a lot of stats on it, but not a lot of health. What we want to do here is use the Rune of Divinity, which gives, plus, stat allocation to everything, plus 10% max HP. We're not as squishy anymore. We have a little bit more health here, and also because of this trait right here in the Daredevil line, we get vitality based on a portion of our power. We're taking our big power amulet with Berserker, and also our crit chance and crit damage with Berserker here, and then we're going to use Rune of Divinity to increase all of our stats, including our HP. So now we're sitting at 15k. I would like to have more, but this is much better than having 12k like you normally would if you didn't run this rune or if you didn't run this trait right here. So a little bit more HP, and we still have good damage. Okay, so that being said, the sigils here, I like to use Sigil of Opportunity and Sigil of Exploitation. Like I said, Sword Dagger doesn't really do the most damage, so having a little bit of extra damage on the sigils helps a lot. The Sigil of Opportunity deals 5% extra damage to movement impaired foes. So this is pretty much whenever you land a Sword 2 or a Dagger 4. The Dagger 4 is a throwing dagger. You throw it on them, it slows them a little bit. And then the Sword 2, Infiltrator Strike, it's a Shadow Step. If you land it, they are immobilized. So anytime you have them slowed or immobilized from your abilities alone, you will then be dealing 5% extra damage to them. And then also the Sigil of Exploitation, deal 5% extra damage to targets below 50% health. Once somebody drops below 50% health, you're automatically just going to be dealing more damage to them, which is helpful to me. And then on the short bow, we always use short bow with any of my Thief builds because short bow is just the best secondary weapon in terms of mobility. So your short bow 5 skill has this, target on the ground. You place your shot wherever you want to place it. Inside that circle, if you land it on top of an enemy, their next attack, they have blind on them for their next ability, so they will miss. Also, it ports you to that location. The other thing that's nice about short bows, has really good AoE damage. The short bow 4 skill, Choking Gas, is a poison field, and like I said earlier, poison reduces healing effectiveness, so this is really good to put down on downed opponents. If you're not able to stand close to them to get a stomp off, you can always sit back at a ranged position with your short bow and just stack some poison fields on them while you auto attack and cleave them down with your short bow 1 skill. The short bow 3 skill here has a evade frame on it, and it slows the enemy. It has a cripple on it, and you evade backwards like this. Okay, so it looks like that. And then also the short bow 2 is another AoE damaging ability, Cluster Bomb. It does some actual strike damage, but it also puts some conditions on them with bleeding. Circle on the ground here that you can aim, throw that down there. All right. With the short bow here, we are using Sigil of Cleansing. So remove 1 condition when you swap to this weapon while in combat. And then also Sigil of Energy. Gain 25% of your endurance when you swap to this weapon while in combat. So basically, whenever you need to quickly get out of the fight or disengage or rotate around the map, as soon as you switch from your Sword Dagger over to your bow, most likely you will be able to then immediately use one of your dash dodges so that you can rotate quickly, cleanse a condition, and then go ahead and use your short bow 5 skill to move around the map as you see fit. Alright, so now that we got the build and the talents out of the way, let's talk about the skills that I choose to use here. So Withdraw, very short cooldown. It's an evade frame, it removes conditions, and it heals you on a fairly low cooldown. So Withdraw is always my favorite heal to use. You can use Channeled Vigor too, also a very good heal. It heals you for more if your endurance is full, so you actually get like more healing value out of this per heal, but it's on a slightly longer cooldown, and I like Withdrawal just for the fact that it has evade frames on it, because I like to use that evade frame plus gap closer or gap opener with that roll there too. Okay, and also roll for initiative. Second one here gives you initiative back, breaks a stun, and it has the evade frame, and it's a roll. So also, if you don't know, there is a way to, you can keybind an about face button. So mine is on V. So anytime I want to roll forwards, what I do here is, as I'm running forward and I'm pressing V, it's about facing like this. But if I hold the left click down, then when I about face, it doesn't change the camera angle. So then when I press V as I'm running forward, as soon as that happens, I can press the ability, roll for initiative, and then roll forward like this. Same thing with my healing skill, withdraw. I can do it going forward like this. So you can go ahead and move in whatever direction you want to be using the skill with. Okay, so stun break gives you initiative back, and it's a roll. We like to use roll for initiative. Shadow step is the next one. This is a must for pretty much any thief build here. Very long range shadow step. It can break a stun on the way out, and then you can do whatever you want to do, and then also on the way back to your original location, it will also break stun and cleanse conditions. Next one here, Signet of Agility, increases your precision, so crit chance, passively, and then has a 30-second cooldown. Refill endurance and cleanse conditions from nearby allies. So you can clear 3 conditions off of yourself and off of nearby friendly targets. It'll give you some of your endurance back. So if I were to go ahead and use more of these dodges and go ahead and hit that, boom, I get a little bit of my endurance back so that I can then use an additional dodge. Last one up, Dagger Storm. This is a toss-up between Dagger Storm or Basilisk Venom, really up to you. One has better survivability and AoE damage, while the other one is just a straight-up, stun if you land your next attack. I think Basilisk Venom takes a little bit more skill to use because there are times where you can miss it. So if you want to just kind of play it safe, go for Dagger Storm. If you want to play a little bit more aggressive, you can always take Basilisk Venom. The cool thing with Basilisk Venom too, though, is that you can share it with your teammates. So typically at the beginning of a match, right when the gates open, it lasts for 30 seconds. So you can go ahead and give it to yourself and the rest of your team. And then whenever they encounter the enemy team at the mid-fight, within those first 30 seconds of the match starting, they all have a chance to land a stun on an enemy target. So Basilisk Venom, very strong, kind of underrated, but a little bit harder to use. Whereas Dagger Storm can be offensive and defensive at the same time because it gives you a evade frame of 3 seconds. You spin around, you reflect projectiles, and you do pretty good AoE damage when things are all stacked up together. Okay, so up to you, whichever way you want to go with that. Let's move into the actual skills and how to play Sword Dagger. So first off, your Sword 1 skill is a chain attack. On the last part of the chain here, you will cripple and put weakness on the target. And then also there's a stealth attack here. From stealth, if you use your Sword 1 skill, you will blind them and daze them. The daze only happens if you attack from behind. Blind happens if you're attacking from the front. And then also, in order to attain the stealth, you have to land a Cloak and Dagger, which is your Dagger 5 skill. It looks like this. Here, let me just go ahead and... Looks like that, okay? It's kind of a short channel, like that. You can see the channel casting there as you're doing it. So it's not immediate, so you have to be able to land this. The easiest way to land a Cloak and Dagger is to do it from range. So you can either use a Shadow Step, or you can step in with Infiltrator Strike, your Sword 2 skill, or you can do it with a Steel. So I'll show you all the combos here. The safest way to do it is with the Infiltrator Strike, your Sword 2, because if you land that, it immobilizes them. So once you immobilize them, you can then make sure they're standing still and hit them with the Cloak and Dagger. So it looks like this. Sword 2, and then Cloak and Dagger. Alright, and then you can use your stealth attack right after that, which is your Sword 1. The other way to land Cloak and Dagger is with the Steel. So if you are within range of your Steel, you can channel this Cloak and Dagger like this. And as soon as it gets to about right here, maybe like 80% the way to finish casting, then you hit your Steel ability, and then it'll then Shadow Step you onto the target, and then landing the Cloak and Dagger like this. Okay, then you can do your stealth attack. And then the last way to do it from range is to use your Shadow Step. Shadow Step needs to be on a button that you're comfortable with, that you can, press the ability and click the ground at the same time. And when I'm aiming to land a Shadow Step, Cloak and Dagger on the target, I'm kind of aiming like right in front of them. So you see the green reticle on the ground. I'm not really putting it on top of them. I'm putting it in front so that when I land, I'm gonna land, like right here, and then the swing of the Cloak and Dagger will then reach the target, right? So I'll give you an example from here. Kind of like this. Then you can do your stealth attack and then port back out to your Shadow's Return if you want to. Okay? So those are just the basic ways to land your Cloak and Dagger to do big big damage on your stealth attack and daze the target. That's Cloak and Dagger and Sword 2 and Sword 1. Your Sword 3 skill is an evade frame like this. Okay, it uses 4 initiative, so not really a good thing to just, you know, continue spamming like this, but you know, sometimes it'll happen on accident because, you know, Thief doesn't have any cooldowns on their abilities. They only run on initiative. So if you're not deliberate with your presses on the keyboard and you're spamming the keys, it's gonna do a lot of the abilities, right? So you kind of have to be a little bit more deliberate when you're playing Thief, you know, since there's no cooldowns here. If you hit it twice, it'll do it twice, you know, so just be aware of that. I find myself making that mistake pretty often. Anyway, your Sword 3 Flanking Strike has an evade frame on it, and it'll deal damage at the end of it. Okay, so like this. And if you land that, your Sword 3 then turns into Larcenous Strike. So it deals a little bit more damage, and it steals boons from the target. So right here, you can steal 2 boons, deals a lot more damage, and it's also unblockable. So the combo here is when you land this, you can go ahead and do the 3 skill again. Alright, and then it'll reset back to its original ability here. The thing with Sword Dagger is to try to remove boons from your target as often as you can with your, you know, combo Sword 3 skills, and also with your swipe or your steal. Because with the trickery trait line here, this one right here, Bountiful Theft, stealing grants you vigor, you rip boons from your target and grant them to nearby allies. So you can steal 2 boon, okay? And also with, let me go ahead and show this skill again right here. You can also steal 2 boons with your secondary Sword 3 skill, okay? So you can steal 4 boons or even more if you're able to land more of the Flanking Strike, Larcenous Strikes, okay? So stealing boons from your target, making sure that they don't have their boons, giving it to yourself and your allies instead, and then kind of just slowly chopping them down. Dancing Dagger is the last skill here that I want to talk about. It is your Dagger 4 skill. It has a range on it. Okay, you just throw it, deal some damage, puts torment on them. Okay, it also can bounce, so if there was multiple targets here for it to bounce to, here, see, like this, so it'll bounce. Okay, cripples them, puts torment on them. I mainly just use it for the slow. So now that we know what the abilities do, let's talk about a little bit of the play style and how to put it into action with Sword Dagger. Do an example here on the Ranger. But using your evades with Flanking Strike, using your dodges, you can use your roll for initiative and your withdrawal just for the sake of dodges as well. Interrupt with your steal, root them with Infiltrator Strike, try to land some Cloak and Dagger stealth attacks. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead, Sword 2, Cloak and Dagger, stealth attack, dodge. I got the dodge, I'm gonna dodge out, Larcenous Strike with the steal, dodge again, Larcenous Strike again. I'm low on initiative, I'm gonna roll back, I'm gonna return to my port and then dodge in. Hit him with the Larcenous Strike, Cloak and Dagger, start the channel of the stomp, Shadow Step out, and then Shadows return in. Okay, just a small example there. I'm going to put a game at the end of this guide, which is pretty much right about now. I think I said all that I wanted to say about it. You guys will just have to get in here and practice it. But I'm going to go ahead and show you some gameplay right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And let's just get right into the gameplay. Alright guys, so here's some gameplay from a game I played earlier, showing some of the highlights here. So as soon as the gates open, I immediately triple dash over and then short bow 5 onto the point here. And this is why Daredevil is really good, because I got here super fast. I ended up getting here faster than the enemy teammate, or the enemy player got onto his node. So right now we're up by 1 point. And you know, sometimes that could mean the difference between winning or losing. Unfortunately, one of our guys dies at the mid-fight, so they're up right now because, you know, every time you get a kill, you get +5. But anyway, as I'm rotating over to the far node to decapture it, you kind of have to be careful with how much resources you're spending as far as, like, your initiative and your dashes go when you're moving into the far node, because just in case an enemy pops up on you, you want to make sure that you have enough resources to engage in the fight. But anyway, after I full cap this, I decided to full cap it because I wasn't sure if we were going to win the fight at mid or not. But anyway, I'm moving over back to the home node, and then as soon as this guy shows up from spawn, I Sword 2 immobilize him in place and then use Shadow Step to get ahead of him so that I can rotate over to the home node a little bit faster. And our Revenant died to the Willbender Guardian here. So I immediately steal onto him to jump onto the node so he doesn't fully cap it. And I'm using my dodges and my sword 3 to kind of spam evades on him at the same time, trying to land larcenous strikes and stealing his boons. And I ended up doing another steal there at the end, and then 2 of my teammates show up to help secure that kill really quickly. In this one here, I rotate over to mid, pick the low target, sword 2 onto him and start doing my sword 3 to try and land larcenous strikes. I'm evading here with sword 3, and then he stunned me, so I use my roll for initiative to immediately break it and get out of it with a dodge, using my withdrawal to keep my health up. And then right here I just did a sword 2 steal, so I immobilized him with the sword 2 and then also landed the steal, shadow step, and stomp to get the kill. And then also I used my Dagger 4 skill to finish this kill and the one that you just saw before, because they were just out of my auto attack range, so I just threw daggers at them to kill them. Right here, the enemy thief catches me out in the open, so I'm just spamming dodges, trying to evade him. And using my sword 2 to kind of juke my location on the map. And here, I use Dagger Storm because I'm super low. I ended up getting this down right here, but I ended up being so low that I had to immediately switch to my short bow, use a dash dodge, use my utility skill to gain more dodges, and then just try to rotate somewhere else instead, because I was the only one alive there versus 2 of them. So I don't think I was going to be able to get the kill. And then in this one, I get caught out by the thief and the NG. So I'm trying to help my teammate here, but right now it's 2v2, but we're right next to their spawn. So as soon as this guy shows up behind me, I immediately try to leave. So I use my roll for initiative moving forward to get out. I put my sword 2 skill down on the ground because I know they're going to catch up to me eventually. So I use my sword 2 to juke them and go back the other direction. And when they try to chase me, I'm kind of fine with keeping 2 of them here, like off node, like just distracted, because hopefully my teammates are outnumbering them somewhere else if there's 2 of them on me right now. So I'm kind of just stalling and wasting their time. And then here, as soon as they split up, I sword 2 over, steal, you know, sword 3, larcenous strike, try to larcenous strike, and then just use Dagger Storm to finish the kill here. Do another shadow step, stomp, but he dies anyway. And then now just chasing the lone thief now. Sword 2 to try to immob him, and then steal sword 3 to finish the kill right there. But yeah, I thought those were pretty good examples of how to play Sword Dagger. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on another one. Peace.